Let's test this whole YouTube thing out. I have not yet played the Stanley Parable at all. It's one of those games that I missed in 2013. I got it on a Steam sale like a few weeks ago, so let's test this out. Taking a oh, in the meantime, I can talk. All right, so tomorrow should be YouTube Gaming is doing like a trial for 10 days. I will be in that trial, so I figured, well, let me make sure I have all my settings working for YouTube before I start running an actual, before I start, you know, actually testing out YouTube Gaming. Want to make sure this is really just for two things, just to make sure my settings are okay, make sure that the streaming comes out at least relatively clear, and to make sure that that everything works now that I upgraded to Windows 10, because that's the other thing. I went to Windows 10 late last week when it launched, and a lot of things changed and a few things flat out messed up. So I was like, all right, let me I have to reset everything with OBS. So figured, hey, let me test and make sure that everything works again and completely reset everything. So I think I got everything going okay, but I'm gonna play the game a little bit and watch the stream just to make sure that everything is running smoothly, to see if I have to test or change anything. Game finishes. Yeah, this is one of those, like, this is one of the games that got such high ratings that I completely missed in 2013. They'd gone home, but I completely spaced on Stanley Parable. So I was just always waiting for a sale. And it always keeps going on sale to, like, it only ever went on sale as low as like $7.50, so I never ended up getting it. And then finally it was on sale, I think during the summer sale, and it was cheaper, it was like $5, I think. So I finally just grabbed it. Alright.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Guess that means I'm stepping out of my office. Oh, alright, I gotta change. Sorry, I play inverted, so I have to make sure. Really, am I not able to invert the controls? Gonna suck. Huh. I think reverse mouse. Maybe. See if that works. Okay, that worked. Just reverse mouse. Okay. Alright, employee 427.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Wonder what happens if I go through the right one.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Oh, you can't go back. Okay.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
How to solve this feud with a coworker. Bob inside you. Taking a pass aggressively on other coworkers, resent coworkers for not supporting you more. That's awesome. King slides your employee. Picture your slide as a blue graphic on the head. Everyone is unique. You most of all. Love that. Synergize core value expenditure. If global monetize free to pay. Number of slides on the slide. Rate at which charts on the same slide depict the same information. I don't know why I'm still looking around. All this game is so ridiculous. Push for funding for R&D. Coffee machine. Get Chris out of the broom closet. Who moved my desk? Please keep the targets on topic of and out. Tomorrow. Complete today's unfinished agenda items. Write most of today's agenda. Select. Okay, let's get out of here. That was the broom closet. should we go upstairs or go in the broom closet? Go in the broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
This game reminds me of Stranger Than Fiction, where the guy just had, where you know, the Will Ferrell character had somebody just narrating his life the entire time. Executive bathroom. Ooh. Can't go in there. Not an executive. Just Stanley. It's a nice office.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
This game is amazing. Okay. Where is the...
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Where is it?
2845.
Anyone see the keypad? I don't see the keypad. What's going on? Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself, and Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Okay. That was weird. I just walk around and go back to the same place. Okay. Here we go. More load screens, yay! Yeah, this weirdly reminds me of Stranger Than Fiction, which I saw recently again. Now that's just in my head, the constant narration. Although with this narrator essentially is telling you what to do, not telling you what you already are doing. Unless you do something opposite of what he tells you to do.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead to the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape escape that way. Huh. But I think it's kind of like Portal, where it's not like all the other people are telling you to do the right thing, and you're just gonna keep doing the wrong thing. Yep. Keep doing the wrong thing.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. Lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Alright, what's happening?
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Okay. Like that someone just... like it just is fired. Fired. Alright, let's see what else we're gonna do.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
No lie, though. No lie. Guessing that red button's thing that turns it off. Keep walking around for a bit, though. My controls either awaiting input.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
I kind of want to go back there and press that red button, since that was power. Okay, who wants to see what the red button does? Does nothing. Can't press it. Okay. So should we turn it off or turn the mind control back on? 5 did. Just turn it off, I guess. And then everything got quiet.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won!
All right.
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Beat the game. Nice. So I just got a Steam achievement that says beat the game. So obviously that isn't the end of it. I mean, I'm sure that's the end of it if you just keep doing everything the guy tells you to do. So why don't we try messing around with this game? Sure, the game isn't just that simple. Could easily just end the stream here, just since I know everything's working. But I don't want to mess around for. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. Back in the same place.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Try this all again.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
And again, we're going to go through the
This
right.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider. Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Alright, let's get out then.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay, so rather than do that, let's just go here.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not lie. If you are lying right now, stop.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Is that a thinly veiled threat?
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Oh.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Okay. Alright, let's pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Kind of don't want this. It doesn't really give you a lot of space to move around, so you kind of just have to press those buttons.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
It also kind of weirdly reminds me of Brazil. If anyone's ever seen Terry Gilliam's Brazil, there are these office scenes that just are brilliant, and they kind of remind me of this. Like, everybody just has their own little tiny office, and they all have to keep doing their really ridiculous thing for the government.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Press Y to spend time with the boy. kids, so I wonder what the boy's gonna do. Let me see if there's anything else I can do. They kind of force you to do this, so press Y.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Spectacular, just keeps turning back into the office.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
No, I'm not doing it, but then he's going to say something. I just want to hear what he's going to say. Don't push. The idea is that I'm guessing I'm going to end up pushing the button, and it knows this, because it's trying to teach you that you're a cog, and you're going to press the button because it tells you to press the button. There's no other way, nothing else I can do. I would have to go back to work. I'm going to press B, and it's going to mock me.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Please die.
And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh man. I kind of love this game. Okay, so let's try it again. Alright, let's do one more go around before I stop the stream.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Turn off one of the computers. Oh, they're all off. Okay. All the papers on the floor. Username access. Waiting input.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright, so every time I do it, I always enter through right, so let's just actually go through the left. You know where it's going to go, but do it.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay.
Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
That's awesome. Alright, so let's try going down.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Let's try walking down. Let's try walking down.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground.
Oh, jeez.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this
my
voice
God.
spoke to all people in their dreams. The truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Same place.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Huh?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Alright, I know I said one more playthrough, and that was it, but kind of want to go again.
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing.
Papers are no longer...
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Not a lot. Two inputs received. Okay. I have to enter 5.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Guess let's go left again.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
They boarded up the broom closet so I don't go back in. That's brilliant.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Alright, so we already know what happens when I go downstairs, so go upstairs again. Oh hey, bathroom open this time. Because the boss knows that. Let's go. Bosses, that's what. Okay. If the doors aren't closing behind me anymore? Well, okay, that one is. But this one isn't, and that's a little weird. Oh, there it is. Okay. Is that a painting with someone holding a gun to a panda? Business strategy. I'm sorry, or business strategery. Or just strategy. Okay, anyway. There's an elevator. Rafts. Time magazine. Okay, so let's go up the elevator. Go down, see what's down. Elevator Musack. I like that Stanley's humming along. Elevator ride. I just go nowhere? I went nowhere. I'm the most expensive boss. Let's try that again. Okay. Oh, maybe I should try... Alright, so I keep trying to go down. Let's try going up this time. or I'm going to keep doing the exact same thing. Get out of here. Okay, so an elevator that goes nowhere. So let's stop going in there. And let's go to the boss's office.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Okay, so we're doing it again. Or let's try something else.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Stanley simply began entering random codes into the keypad, knowing full well 2845.
Okay.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okay, let's do it again. Okay. Let's try that escape hatch that was there last time.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
And let's not do that. Let's go through escape instead.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Huh. Huh. Let's see if it doesn't let me go through.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
And screw it.
Nope, still on board with death.
Let's go to death. Can't trust this narrator.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yep. They're doing it. Well played. Okay, if it loads me back at the office, I probably should stop the stream. Since this was just supposed to be a test.
the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this life is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
No, Stanley doesn't have to die. Stanley does not have to die. Oh!
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Oh man, nice. Nice.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Is there another narrator looking?
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Of course. Ops computer. Stanley Parable credits. Evan Brighting as the narrator. I was trying to figure out who that voice was. Made using source. Okay. What else is going on? Maintenance room. Another maintenance room. Fewer endings, more narrators, fewer narrators, more Stanley, less Stanley. Going crazy. Was that clock there before? Point of the Stanley Parable HD remix is to lose. Apartment timer. Game is now paused. For a long time we had an ending that ended when the player restarted from the escape menu. Which I realized, which is frustrating for everyone. This is so meta. I forgot where I came from. There it is again. Exit sign. Probably the way out, but I don't want to leave yet. Because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment. Narrator emails. Okay, let's go through the exit.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Sorry, I'm taking screenshots because this looks really cool.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time...
Wow, I've been streaming this game for over an hour. Nice, it just stays here. It's not going to do anything. It's not loading anything. That was the end of the game. Okay. Alright, so... okay, so that is the end of this game. Alright, cool. Did I save? How would I save? I don't need to save this at all, but I did. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching, if anyone actually watched. So yeah, thanks a lot. That was the Stanley Parable. I'm now going to, I don't know, sit in silence and just think about this game. Anyway, so yeah, in the meantime, I will be checking out YouTube Gaming a little more when it launches, or at least, well, not when it launches, when it does its little preview thing that I'm a part of. So, yeah, I'll probably be... I have a thought of what game I'm going to be playing for that, but I'm not too sure yet, so I don't want to announce anything. Anyway, thanks a lot, and I will see you guys later. I gotta play this game over one day. Yeah, anyway. Later all.